Hey everyone. Welcome to the TwitchCon panel on speedrunning. We're going to talk about just some kind of general things about speedrunning. You know, what is speedrunning, why we love it. You know, things about speedrunning that we just love as friends in the community. What makes it awesome? We're going to start off with some introductions. Let's just kind of start over there and work our way down.
My name's Imagine Phil. I speedrun The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. I started speedrunning 2 years ago, and I've been doing it ever since. Love it.
I'm Jeff. I speedrun Super Monkey Ball Deluxe. I started speedrunning about 3.5 years ago, and it's fun. So I like it.
My name is Rachel, or Miss Cattykins. I started speedrunning Octodad back in March of 2014, and I've helped her a couple times, and I've been ever since.
I'm Vesper. I started speedrunning in late 2011, early 2012 with games like some of the Metroid games. Most recently, I've been playing a lot of Splatoon. It's awesome.
I'm Fire Dragon 764 or Fi-Fi, and I speedrun like Luigi's Mansion, Super Mario Sunshine, Mario Kart, and I started like 2.5 years ago, and I think I'm addicted.
Hey, I'm Prism. I started speedrunning in the end of 2013, and I started with Mario speedruns. That's probably what I'm known for. And I just went through the whole franchise, all the Mario games, 3D Mario games, recently Pokemon, and also the Pikmin series.
Awesome. Well, let's start out. Just give a quick kind of introduction to people who maybe don't know. What exactly is speedrunning? What do we do when we play games, the same game, for like 8 hours a day, over and over again?
Well, most people would think that's kind of insanity, right? But, you know, I personally love it because I speedrun old school games. You know, I grew up in the 90s, and I play N64 games, specifically Majora's Mask. And when I finished the game a long time ago as a kid, you know, I completed 100%, I put it away in a shelf, and collected dust. And I never wanted to play it again, because it's like, why? Why would I want to play it again? Then I found speedrunning, which was this whole new form of playing a video game. Finish it from start to finish, as fast as possible, and no matter what is capable in the game, whether it's exploiting in-game mechanics or glitches, do whatever you can to get the best possible time you're capable of. And because of that, you know, not only does it bring me back nostalgic value, but it also gives me infinite replay value. I'm able to enjoy a video game that I loved so long ago over and over and over again, sort of saying.
It's like the best I've ever heard anyone put it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to follow that up. That's too good. Why do we enjoy speedrunning? We play specifics. Personally, I think speedrunning is, I mean, exactly what Phil said, like being able to create more and more enjoyment out of the games that we loved as a kid, or even the games that we love now, is amazing. It's not just play the game, you beat it, and then you're good. It's an entire new level of depth to video games that you just don't normally see.
It's fun to see in certain games how the code can be broken. Like if you've seen Wind Waker speedruns, like, you know, the Super Swim, where you just pull out the Wind Waker and like just kind of flies to the other side. I like breaking games. It's one of my specialties. So it's just really cool to see how games can be broken and how you can exploit that.
Yeah, it's like also the satisfaction too, because like when you put so much time and effort into a game that you like that has nostalgic value, and then like, you know, you put like all your hard work into it. You have a community that like kind of helps each other find stuff like just to break the game, go faster as fast as you can. And then when you finally get like that PB or personal best, or like, you know, it just has that like satisfaction value, and I don't know, and that they just beat over and over again as fast as you can. So it's like not just beating the game once. When you beat it faster the second time or the third time, it just keeps on giving you that satisfaction.
Another thing that I like to say is rather than, you know, playing a game for the first time, it's kind of you versus the game. When speedrunning is totally different. You already know the game. You know how to play it, you know how to beat it. It's no longer you versus the game, it's you versus yourself. And it's all about self-improvement, which is something that's it's amazing to know that you can better yourself, better your skills at something, and just get better and better over time. It feels really good.
It's kind of comparable with sports. People play sports because it's fun, but if they get really, really good, let's say like a top soccer team or whatever, they have to put in a lot of effort to get better, to do the best. And it's kind of, I think that's a good comparison. You can either like work really hard to become the best, if that's your goal, or you play soccer with friends to have fun. So you can speedrun just for having fun because it's fun to go fast in the game you enjoy as a kid. Or you put in a lot of effort to get to the top of the leaderboard in your game. And yeah, that's like two sides of speedrunning. Pick whatever you like the most.
I personally like competition as well, because, you know, someone who's just starting the game could find something that you've never found before.
Yeah, the cool thing about speedrunning is how the games develop over time. You look at a game like Ocarina of Time, you know, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. This game has such an insane history when it comes to speedrunning. A little over a year ago, actually about 2 years ago now, the game was able to be beaten in, what was it, like an hour and 10 minutes? Yeah. And then someone found this crazy new glitch that, like, at first, barely anyone knew how it worked. It was so complicated, and it let people beat the game in like 30 minutes. And that was like a year ago. The game's been out for how long now? 2 years? 2 years now? You might know.
Yeah, no, the game's been out since 98.
96.
We just played a game, so we don't know the history.
But yeah, it's interesting. Like, just because a run goes from being an hour and a half long because of a new trick to 20 minutes doesn't mean it's easier because it's shorter. Like, for example, Majora's Mask. When I started speedrunning it, the route was very difficult. If you're familiar with the game, there's a stone tower at the end of the game, and it's really tough in a speedrun because you have to climb it with explosives. And you can only use a certain amount of explosives before you get to the top, and if you run out, it's finished. You can't do it anymore, you have to reset. And now there's been a lot of improvements in the run, and it's still an hour and a half long, give or take, for a good time. And it's considerably easier because you can skip that entire section. So just because it's an hour and a half long, it doesn't mean it's very difficult. I would actually argue that the 20-minute run from Ocarina of Time is much more difficult. It's more complex.
Moving forward, let's talk about sort of like speedrunning like events. A lot of what the community sees is events for speedrunning. You know, like the Games Done Quick marathons, especially are huge in the speedrunning community. Let's talk about like our experience with those. You know, going into them, playing in them, just how we enjoy them.
Well, I personally did a run at Awesome Games Done Quick 2015 in January, just the beginning of the year, and it's just unbelievable what kind of support speedrunning can do for, you know, charity events like Doctors Without Borders or Prevent Cancer Foundation in those particular cases. They raise money that you would never imagine can be raised in such a short amount of time. I think in the last 3 years, these Games Done Quick events have raised over $3 million for charity in 3 weeks.
So my experience with Games Done Quick, I played the last, I think, 4 marathons, and every marathon just gets better and better. The people in the community are amazing. It's so good to be surrounded by your friends and raising money for such a good cause. And it's awesome to play in them as well. I think that it's one of the biggest honors that I have as a speedrunner is to be able to do something for such a good cause. And I couldn't think of anything better than, you know, playing a game fast, having fun, and raising a lot of money for good causes. I think the Games Done Quick things, the events are, you know, the highlight of my year, honestly. Like being there, even if I wasn't running, would be amazing.
I have a little story with mine. So I went to the SGQ 2014, and Jeff and I talked to Rom Scout, and Jeff was like, hey, you know, the runners are here, you know, Rachel's held a world record a few times, maybe it could be a race. So Rom Scout's like, okay, and he put up a donation incentive, was it $2,500? It was for like $2,500 to be like, hey, she can race, you know, him in the run. I think we raised the $2,500 in 2 hours. So that was I like had no preparation. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to run this game. So
like, whoa, charity? Yeah, I'm putting my money towards that. Let's go.
Yeah, like the Octodad devs were like, oh my gosh, she's gonna run it. So they like put a lot of money towards it. You know, developers, especially with indie games, are very helpful. You know, when it comes to raising money. And I did an Octodec co-op run with Jeff this past SGDQ. It's been a very fun experience, personally. And like the communities are so supportive, like more than you know.
Yeah, like, I think like GDQs too. I think like mostly every like donation stuff gets met.
Yeah.
Or like for all the games. But like my experiences, hopefully no one remembers SGDQ. We're not gonna talk about that. But because it never happened. But
what about that golden gym for fun? Yeah, what about that gym?
what goal?
Tell us about the Weather Channel.
So really, every GDQ experience I just failed at. So like, last year, like I think I hit the power button on my Wii by accident instead of resetting it, and then I forgot the gold gem this year. But
You also went to the Weather Channel.
I went to the Weather Channel as well by accident. Like 50,000 people by accident. I don't know. But yeah, like every GDQ, like it just keeps on growing too. So like I think this past SGDQ was the most people at a GDQ, like
1,200.
Yeah.
and then the HDQ, like the past one was like I think a little over 1,000. So it just like, and usually HDQs are like the bigger one because like Summer Games Done Quick is, it was I don't know, like usually not as big, but now it just seems like everyone's growing more and more. So like the awareness is like coming more and more, and like more people are starting to like get involved in the community, and everything's grown, and like that's exactly what we want to do.
Yeah, and for us broadcasters, when we go to an event like this and we actually get the chance to have a speedrun at the event in front of like, I don't know, we had like 150,000 people watching for charity, and everyone gets a little run, like up to an hour, sometimes 6 hours when you run crazy RPGs. Yeah, and they just get the chance to get some exposure for their own channels as well. They can show speedrunning at the event, and then when they're back home, there are new people in their own channels saying, "Hey, I saw you run. That's awesome." And some people go to the GDQ and they come back home as full-time streamers because they've changed their life. And yeah, it's insane.
Go ahead. I was gonna say that not just for charity, but the GDQ events have so much exposure with the hundreds of thousands of people watching. They bring a lot of new runners into the community. And it's really cool because when you have amazing people performing amazing things like speedruns and playing games that everybody's familiar with because they're all over the place, you have new people come in, and then what happens is you see like it flourishes. Like there's just tons of people joining, and they come to chats and they say, "Hey, I saw your run. I really love what you do. I want to know how I can get involved." And the best part about the community is that most people are actually really welcoming. Like they just have, like everybody makes tutorials, everybody makes stuff, and everybody has websites for their own particular games that you can just look at, and there's tutorials and you can learn. And it's really cool. Like most people are willing to like go out there and check out help and stuff.
The speedrunning community in specific is so supportive of people starting to speedrun. If you want to start speedrunning, if you look at it and you think it's cool, you can do it. It's like as easy as that. There's stuff up there to help you get started. There's tutorials for the games that you want to learn. Like anything that you want to do involving playing a game from start to finish as fast as you can, like you can do it.
Yeah, seriously, if you go into any runner's chat of a game that you want to run, and you just say, "Hey, I'm interested in the game, you know, can you point me to some resources?" Or if you just, you know, ask them, "Hey, I'm having trouble with this trick," they're probably going to tell you, "Hey, I know how to help," or "Here's a video." You know, nobody's going to tell you, you know, like, "Go away, we don't want you." Like, we want more people to run games, because the more people that run games, the more optimized runs get, the tricks get found, and the more people get into speedrunning, and it's good for everything.
Adding on to what Jeff just said there, the more people that speedrun is better for speedrunning as a whole. Remember, speedrunners want to play the game fast. When there's more people playing a game, the times are going to get better. There's going to be more tricks found to make times better. You know, like the more people that are out there, like it's going to make games faster, which is what we would want.
And my experience too with like Luigi's Mansion I speedrun, every community is like pretty much the same too. Whereas like I think I'm in like 3rd place right now, but the world record holder is like one of my best buds. And we went through Luigi's Mansion, and so even though he has a world record, like it's always a friendly competition. So like there was like a new trick found like not too long ago, and he pretty much mastered it like really quickly, and I was having trouble with it. But he actually went out of his way to like help like go on Skype with me, like tell me step by step how to do the trick, like what to do, how to improve my own time to like beat his time. So like if you have a world record, like usually it's not like if you have a trick and you like have a world record, you're like mostly the person's not gonna just be like, all right, I'm not gonna help you teach this. I want to keep the world record. They're gonna like actually go out of their way. They're gonna help you. They want to see you improve their time, and they want the competition.
You know, it's kind of cool. I think that a lot of the communities on Twitch, as different and diverse as they are, the speedrunning one is one of the more smaller communities, and I think that the other ones are just a lot more saturated in that sense. And that kind of adds a lot more personal feeling and touch to as a person when you're a speedrunner, because you can interact with people much easier as opposed to a bigger channel and a bigger stream because of a different community. And what's cool about it is that, you know, you all share the same passion for speedrunning and playing a game. And even though it's a giant community of speedrunning, every game has its own sub-community, in the sense that everybody that plays the one game shares that respect, in the sense that we all appreciate trying to go fast in this particular game. So what you can do is you just become friends with everybody in those particular sub-communities, and as a result you end up forming friendships for life. Like some of my best friends I met on Twitch, they live all over the world. They're people I never thought in my life I'd ever have friends with.
Some of my best friends I met on Twitch, they're sitting right here beside me right now. It's amazing.
Aww.
You wouldn't speedrun with your ass.
Moving forward, let's talk quickly about, just very briefly, about tool-assisted speedruns.
Okay.
So we were up here talking about how humans can drive games forward. Now let's talk about how robots can drive games forward. Literally.
We should explain what it is first. A lot of people come into my chat and they just assume, oh yeah, I've seen someone do a run of this. It's like 1 hour, 20 minutes long. And then the fastest humanly possibly time is like 1 hour, 40 minutes, 20 minutes an hour. They just assume, oh, that was an actual person playing a game with like 30 inputs per second or whatever. And yeah, and tool-assisted speedrun is, it's like you open the game in a program and you get full control over it. You can skip frame by frame ahead. You get a frame, you input what you want, go to the next frame, and then the final product is going to be a video played. And it looks awesome. It's a tool-assisted speedrun. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's mistakeless. It's flawless. Yeah, and that's something really cool to watch as well. Besides like live streamer speedrunning.
So like sometimes they have GPUs too.
Yeah, it's like a nice comparison to see how low a game could technically get. When you see, oh yeah, how fast could you beat this game if you were perfect? It will never be as good as it has. It's never going to happen. But it's like a nice. It's nice to see. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're good at video games. We are unfortunately not actually robots. Speaking of tasks, if you want to watch tasks, there's actually a good website for that, taskvideos.org. You can go there and just like search up a game. You can watch a task of it. You can watch a robot play the game as fast as humanly possible. On the topic of websites, we have a lot of websites that you guys can use for speedrunning. Probably the two most notable are Speed Demos Archive, which is it's like a
high quality. It's for high quality things. Speed Demos Archive is for high quality speedruns. It's not necessarily just for world records, but it's for very well produced speedrun videos.
So if you want to see a good speedrun, you can go to Speed Demos Archive.
Yeah, I don't know. The other one is one of the more frequent and newer websites is speedrun.com, and it's a universal leaderboard for speedrunning, and it basically is a home to every game you can possibly think. You just type it in the search bar, it comes up, you can see the leaderboards of that particular game, and it also doubles as a good resource to see who's running which games and stuff, because it links profiles, you can see Twitch channels. So it gives you a good idea of like where to look for, who to look for, and stuff like that.
It also has guides and stuff, like in the community. There's resources to get started with speedrunning. You know, there's guides for tricks.
And the third website will be Speedruns Live. If you want to find new speedrunners, because you need something to watch that's like speedrun related, there's speedrunslive.com, and we have a front page. It's only speedrunning content. All streams pretty much all speedrunners that are live right now are on the front page of Speedruns Live. Yeah, you can look at my game. Some people are racing. You can watch live races. That's really interesting. People like two people speedrun like against each other, who's speeding the game faster, and you can watch both streams, who's making these mistakes, what's going on, and sometimes they have a Skype call together, like trash talk each other down.
think like NASCAR.
It's a lot of fun.
Think like NASCAR, except instead of everyone driving a car, they're playing a video game, and it's less boring. I'm sorry. Yeah, right. So racing is like another subdivision of speedrunning. It's not necessarily two separate communities, but a lot of people will do speedruns, a lot of people will do races, like strictly races. Racing is another totally different look at speedrunning in the sense that when you're going for personal best attempts and you're just trying to get a really good run, you can just, if you make a bad mistake, you just reset, whatever, do it again. Races, you can't do that. If you reset, you're disqualified. You have to play the game from start to finish, or else you don't win. Racing is really interesting in that sense. You get to see a lot of people will make mistakes, and then they will use backup strategies to fix those mistakes. And normally, you wouldn't see those in personal best attempts, or when they're just trying to get a good time. And it adds like this entire new level of depth to a game, where you might think, oh, they screwed up there, the run's over. Oh no, they did that. That was amazing. I didn't know you could do that.
And the thing too with speedruns live, like no matter what skill level you are, you're always welcome to race. And it's like sometimes they have like weekly, like I think what some companies do, they have like, for a certain game they have like weekly races at a certain time where you could like always race that one game. And it's open, like it's always open to anyone. So you don't need to be like really good to always race on the website. No matter like how new you are or how like good you are, you can race no matter what.
Yeah, so sometimes speedruns live organizes big community races, and everyone's just going to join, even if they never played the game before. We did Super Meat Boy the other day, and we're like 120 people joined it, and I think actually 100 finished too. So some people needed 6 hours. And we played Pokemon, and RPG speedruns are really different. Like Pokemon doesn't really have movement other than walking around and menuing, but you need to know so much about
That's actually a good thing to talk about.
RPG speedruns. You need to know so much about the game. You need to know how to react to what happened. You need to know how to react to RNG, like what the game gives you.
RNG is a term you're going to hear speedrunners use a lot. It stands for random number generator.
We all love it.
Essentially anything that's random in a game, like just give it an event, multiple things could happen, and it's totally random. That's what RNG is. When you watch like Super Mario 64, it's all like movement. There's very little RNG in that game. It's all like movement optimization and just playing the game really well. You look at a game like Final Fantasy or Pokemon, and like everything is RNG, and you might think that that's just like dumb. Like why would you can't control it? But it's not dumb, because if you're really good at the game and you know how the game works, you can play around that. You know how to control, not necessarily control the RNG, but work with it.
But yeah, like you're probably saying, okay, you speedrun, but what do you use to time it? And it's really cool. When you watch a stream of a speedrunner, they can customize their layout however they like. They have a whole bunch of stuff. But the two things you'll always find is the game and a timer. And the timing program is called Live Split. That's the most recent one. There's several. There's also something called Landfair. There's W Split. There's a couple other ones. There's WR Split as well. I think they're different. I think they're different. But yeah, there's several timers you can use. The most well-known one and most frequently used is Live Split. And it's a fully customable program. It's a timer that you can change the layout, you can add segments, and it's basically a really good way to keep track of how you're doing as a speedrunner for your game. Because it has colors for certain sections, like if you're ahead, if you're behind, like ahead would mean green, behind would mean red. You can have a gold split that means that you have a personal best for a particular segment. And it's really cool because not just for you, but it's also really nice for somebody watching to understand how you're doing it in a speedrun. Because if you have a timer and you're not displaying it for people and someone's watching you, they have no idea whether your speedrun's going well or it's going bad unless it's a complete disaster for people.
That's like really important when people don't know a lot about a specific game when it comes to speedrunning, and they tune into your stream and you know you're speedrunning it. For them to be able to see how good or bad the run is really important. They want to know how you're doing. They want to know, you know, maybe this run could be a personal best, maybe it could be a world record. Lots of things could happen.
Oh, hey.
Yo, everyone, I'm so sorry. Anyone smell like a gym bag full of hot onions? I'm so sorry about that. I'll see it over. Sure. Wait, what's your Hey, what's going on, yo? I'm TryX. I love all of you. I'm sorry I'm like super late. You may know me from Yoshi's Island and recently playing a ton of Mario Maker. I've been really enjoying it a lot. I don't know if we're having a discussion right now, but I'm glad to hop in. Okay, cool, yeah. I use lots of it, it's pretty dope. You can do lots of comparisons against like your own personal best run as well as the world record. Because oftentimes when you hop into any game, if you're like 4-2, people want to know like right away, what's the world record? Give me like a comparison in the context of how good you are compared to how good the game can be. So if you get that as much information as possible about being distracting or overwhelming, really, really good. But oftentimes a lot of people want to like, there's a lot of do's and don'ts involving splits. People love to put like their waifu, like their favorite like girl, like some obnoxiously bright background with some like lime green text, and it's like really hard to decipher. I won't say any names, but you can probably find one. Yeah, you really want to make sure that when you use explicit, your focal point is still the game feed. It's not overwhelming the attention all around. You don't want like splits to look as cool as the game and have competition over what to look at the entire time.
All the key splits into their layout. It makes it a lot better to read, personally. Well, yeah. But
Should we start the Q&A? Yeah. Or do you have anything else?
Man, I am game for the Q&A. I see y'all like starving to talk questions right now. Come forth, my children.
Is mic on? Okay, cool. Yeah, first of all, just TryX, man. I gotta say, you know, from one attractive geek to another, thank you for bringing sex in.
Oh my God, thank you so much. No, seriously, like, you should see, well, you might see this much already, but like, I preach so hardcore about like working out, how that like really remotivate everything. Like, because a lot of people, when they want to get into speedrunning, they're often comparing themselves like to the very best right away. And it's like when you hop in the gym for your first like month, or even first 3 months, you know, you're not looking at Schwarzenegger and The Rock and like, man, why don't I have a six-pack yet? Or maybe, or the V with the V, or like the shoulders that he has. So it's like really important to keep in mind your own context, your own growth, because even like Singlimic, who got got big and got great in 2012 mostly, that was a different era. Twitch was small then, speedrunning was small then. Now it's a deeper meta. Everyone gets good right away. Like, you know, if you can't do Canada setup on Once Fortress, you know, GG. Yeah, it's all about keeping it motivated and comparing it to yourself. As long as you are progressing each and every day, then you should be motivated and happy, rather than thinking, man, I'm 110th best in 64. That sucks. But yeah, the point is that yeah, working out.
Nice life lessons for sure. Yeah, and also, you know, congratulations to all of you on the official world record speedrun of TwitchCon panel on speedruns. Good job.
It's almost really good now.
Yeah, so my question is pretty basic one, I guess, just in your guys' opinions. Outside of games that you guys play yourselves, what's like the most interesting speedrun for you guys? Just go down the line.
I'm really big on Super Mario 64. I think movement-based speedruns are fascinating. I love seeing movement from a real person, comparing it to a task at an extremely high level. I'm also a fan of like Banjo-Kazooie, 100%. I think it's absolutely fascinating, that kind of movement.
For me, recently, I've been watching a lot of Ocarina of Time 100%. I really like Ocarina of Time as a game, and and watching it be like full completed in under 5 hours is pretty insane. As well as SO64, 120 star, and whatever people are playing and following. If I'm like, it kind of changes daily, but there's like 2 or 3 main games that I enjoy. Super Meat Boy as well is actually a really fun game to watch be played well. The movement in that game is insane, and the precision required is crazy. So I kind of, I'm almost jealous that they're like that good at movement.
I personally like SM64 as well. I just love watching movement. And honestly, I'm a little biased, but watching Monkey Ball is very interesting because you would think it's pretty easy to do, and I've tried tricks and it's taken me hours to do what he can do in like 30 seconds.
Cool thing that I really enjoy about speedrunning is that it's actually hard for me to pick like one game or 2 games that I really love, because every game, it doesn't matter like what the game is, every video game is amazing. You can do amazing things with it. Again, like we were talking earlier about Ocarina of Time, how the game's just so broken to the point where you can beat it in less than 20 minutes now. Like every game is like that.
Well, all right, so I gave it some thought, and actually, tasks are what I really, really enjoy. I like it whenever, more so than like when we play, like I like to see when the speed will come to a point where it seems inhuman altogether. Like if you want to know why I was so infatuated with Shazam in the first place, was when the first task came out in 2005, and all of like the de facto swag that's present now, aiming backwards while running forward, A juggling, YOLO swag, max tunnel, while losing minimum speed, like all that stuff is all like what made me want to get into the game. Like I want to look as inhuman as possible. So like the Yoshiyama task, goes 10%, 100%, and Sonic Green Knuckles, where you're just like, where are you the entire time? Like, or even Sonic Advance 2, where you're going so fast the camera cannot keep up with you. And you have to put a modified version of the ROM, the camera that can just lock on the Sonic all the time, so you can see what's going on the entire time. Otherwise, the camera's just scrolling non-stop. You never see Sonic going so fast. That's what gets me excited.
And for me, it's like mostly like childhood favorites or like classics, like the Zelda games or like Sonic and stuff like that. And I personally love watching Zelda games because it brings that nostalgia back. But I can't speedrun myself because I suck at Zelda games. So maybe in the future.
I really enjoy watching Super Mario 64 ROM hack speedruns. I speedrun SM64 myself, but I've never gotten into like the other variations of the game, and that's really cool.
Cool. Thanks a lot for keeping the speedrun community so like open and awesome. You guys do a great job.
So a little bit opposite of his question, but I was thinking about running like a really terrible game, and it made me want to ask you guys, what's the worst game you've ever tried to speedrun?
Majora's Mask.
At some point, just because speedrunning is frustrating at points. But I think for me, I tried running Ocarina of Time myself, and my hands just don't do what they need to do. So probably it was the most frustrating like 2 days I've ever had with speedrunning. I love watching it, but I can't play it.
Yeah, Octodad can get really bad sometimes because you have to play on low physics and easy, and the game's so wacky that you'll walk into the room and your arm will be stuck in the wall for 30 seconds. I also tried to speedrun Jazz Pop once, and I found out I'm really bad on mouse and keyboard, so I stopped that.
You're going to see a trend here. We're all going to say that we hate the games that we run. That's probably because we play the game so much that we know everything that's wrong about it and everything that we hate about it. Whereas games that we haven't learned, we don't know the stuff that can happen to us when we play this game that makes us hate it.
Now, if you're asking which game I ran or took it to that I had the worst experience in, it's tough to really figure out exactly which one. There's a lot of games I don't like for many reasons. But if you're asking in general, a dank game, the game I think is bad and intentionally bad, and I want to see how bad it can be, right?
Yeah.
There's a deep formula to that, right? So it's it has to be a short game because you go see Pixels, it's a 2-hour movie, but the meme is dank for 10 minutes. You're oh, kill me. So if the game is short, amusingly bad, with an interesting hook that you have to find out when you are watching it, that's a dank game. I'm trying to find out right now, actually. So like, I ordered a bunch of like PS1 poverty games, and I'll come back to you like I might be able to make DQ like awful game flop in 2016. But spoilers right now though, I ordered Winnie the Pooh Honey Hut Hunt. Looks pretty terrible. I don't know what that is.
So I speedran, I did one, it was kind of a joke, but if you've ever played the Pup Hut and Pep Balloon-orama game for Windows 98, I did a run on it. It took me 3.5 hours. I was the only person on Speedrun's live lead or speedrun.com leaderboard for maybe 3 months. And I don't know why someone else speedran it. It was an adventure. That game, I don't want to play it again. No, thank you.
And you can longest entertainment games, it's like 30 seconds, you just keep clicking. So there's nothing really to it besides clicking.
Something just popped into my head while we were thinking here, kind of what Trinex mentioned about a game being like intention like that. If you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. SGDQ 2014. Cosmo Wright did a run of Town of ZZT. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. Watch it.
So I have a friend who's also a speedrunner sitting in the front row named Tushi, who speedruns Barbie. Not only that, but he has world record.
Is it Barbie Roller Coaster or is it Barbie Roller Coaster Tycoon?
Magic of Texas.
Yeah.
I tried to speedrun Tetris once. And I don't know if you watched that at the JQ events. It's like the hypest run ever. They go so fast. And yeah, and I tried and I came over like 10 seconds in. Yeah.
Yeah, on a quick note, like if you're looking for a game to speedrun, pick a game that's fun, but one that you can learn to hate.
I was looking into playing Overblood.
Okay.
You guys have heard of that? It's pretty terrible.
I personally haven't heard of it, for my ignorance.
It's not.
Good luck. As long as you have fun.
So where they have games like, yeah, like made for that. Or silly games. Yeah, or silly games.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi everyone, big fan of the whole speedrunning community. Love all the GDQ events. My question for you is, in the future, because a lot of speedrunning is playing with or manipulating older games that have been around for a while, and because of the way they were coded or programmed, have a lot of holes in them and are easy to manipulate. But what about newer games in the future? Do you think they're going to be hard to manipulate or break because the coding is more and more advanced? Have you seen instances of where new games are pretty easy to break, surprisingly? And where do you think that will go in the future of speedruns?
You see, I mentioned it earlier, I speedran Splatoon for a while. In like the second day that the game was released, we found a way to skip the entirety of World 4. Despite being like how new of a game is, Nintendo hasn't fixed it yet, they don't care. So I feel like games are going to be they're starting to get programmed better, right? It's going to be harder to find glitches and skips, until we kind of study and learn the engine that they're running on to try and exploit things. I think right now we're just relying on the developers making mistakes and letting us save time. It's literally a mistake. Someone put a barrier that blocks you from going to the next world in the wrong spot, and you can just go around it. Simple as that.
Yeah, usually new games, as of now, are still the same. You find skips and glitches in every single one of them. I have a good example, Super Mario 3D World. We have 4 different characters and everyone has like a different running speed, different jump height. But if you use one of the upgrades, everyone has the same speed if you do it right. So you can just use whatever character you like the most and they are all the same speed because Nintendo didn't limit the momentum with a special power-up. And yeah, I don't think new games, they try to make it less, like not easy for us to break it, but it's still gonna happen. It's still gonna happen.
Yeah, like with Octodad, it came out in 2014 when I started playing it, and within like a month you found out that if you stick your arm up, you can fly to skip things in the levels.
So like, there's like 2 parts to your question. And the first one is if you feel that why are the newer games not as popular? In some cases, like they should take off like maybe a month or 2 for like the launch game hype, but then they kind of die out. And I feel that's more related to the fact that newer games, on a general scale, are going more to like the cinematic direction, which is Theory 26, which is more like not as pleasant to speedrun in most cases, especially if the cutscenes are not skippable, right? Because they want the immersion or whatever. But that too, they're like this. We're in this new generation of the patches, in particular Sonic Lost Worlds and Sonic Boom. Both have those big issues right now, where they come in and cover up all the exploits with patches. So you have to figure out if you run 1.0, if it's a PC game, or if it's even an Xbox Live game. Like, how do you deal with like? Do you just like format your Xbox or do you just run 1.0 back unpatched? And it gets kind of conditional at that point. So it's a little more inconvenient to enjoy the game at its full speed potential. So that gets kind of like cumbersome over time. And it might be why like more games are not as popular. But that may get better in the future, if I could say. I'm not going to guide you on the games at the moment.
All right, cool. Thank you, guys.
Next.
Congratulate you for being amazing speedrunners, and Fire Dragon is actually one of the reasons why I actually speedrun.
No, thank you.
I actually now speedrun on Binding of Isaac Rebirth on 10 character chest on hard. Now I just improved my time by 3:05. But my question is, have there ever been speedruns that have been way too hard for you to actually handle? If so, what are your games? And that's perfect.
All the time, yes. That's why I stick to like 3 games. But like, yeah, I've tried like Zelda games before, and then the reason why like I stopped speedrunning was because I couldn't handle the glitches. I couldn't like figure out how to do it. And there's games that like you start speedrunning that you watch and go out, and I like that game. I want to speedrun it, and I'm going to try it out. And then once you actually try it out, you figure out if you actually really enjoy it or not. And that's happened to a lot of games, like for me, including like Ni no Kuni. I enjoyed really like very casually, but then when I tried to speedrun it, I just couldn't handle it. And some Zelda games, and still trying to work on some games to find to speedrun.
There's a game, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called Yoshi's Island. Anyone here about that? It's really hard. I tried, I failed.
I wouldn't say there was a game that was too hard. There were just some games I wasn't interested in. Like I never really found a game that I was really into that I quit because it was too hard. So I didn't like it. So I don't think anyone really gets to a point where they don't just like a game. They get eventually move forward. Like if you like it, you're gonna adapt and figure out how to make it. You're gonna adapt and figure out how to make it. You're gonna adapt and figure out how to make it.
Like to go on that point, it's also like if you're looking for a game to speedrun, don't consider the difficulty. Like pick a game that you love and you know you'll have fun running despite the difficulty. Because if you love it enough, you'll actually learn all the stuff about it.
Yeah, to continue the point, I would feel like the constant discovery when you're improving every single time. Like every day you hop in the lab and you're finding out something new about Chapter 4 or World 6 or the final boss or the second final boss, or there's a new strategy you can use on the final boss, which is an easy version of the first boss. You can use that to manipulate this and that, and flip out of here, you find some new trick 2 years in that changes the entire movement system in the game and whatnot. Like the constant discovery is what keeps you addicted. I would say the discovery or the difficulty is not really that relevant if you enjoy the game. And if the game is too difficult, I feel the problem there is you're more motivated by the idea of being good in the game rather than the actual speed running of the game. That actually happens quite a bit. A lot of people like the idea of being good at 64, but actually enjoying running at 64. They want first place, they want to run, they want glory, but they don't have like the passion of enjoying the game leads to world record, not the other way.
Thank you.
So, actually touched on this a little bit just now, and earlier with your workout analogy. But so, when you walk into a stream, you click on a stream, and you go in and you see this like perfectly like run speedrun or 9 perfect, and it looks so easy that everything's butter. And then I know when I wanted to start a speedrun, and I go in and it's all of a sudden all these like tricks and everything are so challenging. Like, how do you get past that barrier of like the grind of trying to make sure until you get to that point where like the trick you have it down and everything, so it makes it easier to run even though the trick is difficult? How do you get through that initial like wall of difficulty of trying to learn to run?
If you start running, you should not try to copy what a top runner is doing right away. Yep. Yeah, and you should just go for like a run even you could look in leaderboards, go for someone that's low in the leaderboard and watch that video. He's probably using completely different strats that make the game way easier in the beginning. And then once you get good at like the strats you currently have, you can upgrade one by one. Like let's say you do 10 runs of the game, you get pretty good, and then you want to get better. So you learn like 2 or 3 new tricks. You practice them, you do more runs, and then when you get them down, you learn more tricks. That's how it works. It's really bad to look at a top speedrun and try to copy what they do because you can't do that. You can't do it.
Another thing would be like practicing offline, like watching a run and trying to copy it, go back and try to watch like a certain trick, especially if you're having a lot of trouble with it.
So the way that I personally do things is like, I do runs, I get a good time, I PB a few times, and I say, okay, I'm gonna watch a run that's a little bit better than mine. And so I watch it, and I'm like, okay, what tricks do I think I can do that this person does that I don't do yet? And I pick, a few that I think I can do. I practice them, I put them in my runs, I get some more PBs. I'm like, okay, let's watch someone that's higher up. And then, eventually now I'm, second best in my game, so I just watch the world record run. I'm like, okay, what time savers that I can save half a second, that can I do? And it's all a process of just, slowly building the building blocks for success. You don't just start out doing the world record run and, that's going to demotivate you. You're going to feel bad about your skill level, and it's not something you should do.
I think it's the best feeling about speedrunning is getting a PB. And if you get more PBs, that's obviously better. Let's say some people actually do that. They practice for months before they do their first run ever. And then they get a really good run on their first run, and they will never PB again unless they practice even more. And I wouldn't do that personally. Yeah, I love PBing, so I go slowly in speedrunning. I do a run. I learn one new trick for every single run, so I get a better time. And that's what I like about speedrunning: getting a PB, getting a good feeling about it.
Really, it comes down to confidence. Like, when you're doing a run, you have to know that you're going to nail the trick for whatever it is. And, I've had it before where I've gone into a run because I'm practicing or whatever, and I go into the trick and I'm like nervous, like I'm going to fail this and it's over. Goodbye, 40 minutes of my life, awesome, My hands are like shaking, I'm like, let's party. And then you get to the trick and it tanks, and it's just like all the confidence, goodbye. And then what happens is you think about it and you go, I need to just practice this particular trick. And if I can do that and feel confident about it in practice, maybe I can feel confident about it in a run. And it's kind of hard to do that because when you're in a run, it's a whole different feeling as in like if you're practicing, because you don't have any pressure of like keeping the run alive or like doing well. So you don't have that added pressure of like having to perform. But what I like to personally do is I made a rule called the rule of 10. And when I do a trick and I learn something, whenever it's like, because I'm also the same as you, like I also like to slowly implement newer strats. What I do is like, if I learn a new trick, if I can land it 10 times in a row in practice, I know I'm ready for runs. Because I know by like attempt 8 or attempt 9, I'm more confident in the fact that like I've done it already enough times to like be able to do it. And you start to get that nervous feeling because you don't want to drop your like 8 in a row or 9 in a row, so you start to go well. And then you hit 10, you're like, all right, whatever, 11, 12, let's party again, So that kind of helps.